Good evening, good afternoon. Welcome, FMA Discussion. This is episode 278, and this caps the doubleheader today. Tom Pena was on earlier with Anthony regarding Payate Arnis, and we're going to cap it off with this. And I am so actually happy because, again, we're finally getting representation from Cabales Serrada, and we want to get more of that. And so I'm truly looking forward to this. And also, raffle. Be sure to check that out. Ukrainian refugees. We've already sent over $950 to them. Tuan Bill really kicked it off, gave us a jump start with his videos. It was very, very kind of them. But the actual raffle still goes to May 15th. $10 a ticket. The prizes are all listed. If you check on the pinned post, you'll see all the prizes. There's lessons being given out, a lot of books. Ray Galan donated 8 books. Just to kind of give you some idea of what's there. But be sure to check that out. And again, it's going to a good cause, $10, right? And you're helping people. So without further ado, I'm going to be bringing Nick up. If you're watching, tell us where you're watching from. Smash that like button, and we are going to get started. We got Nick coming up. You know that man, rapping, piping, Cabales.
That's an awesome intro. Thank you, Maestro Dean. I appreciate that.
So this is, I'm just so happy we finally cajoled you to come on. Not a trap, not the torture chamber.
No, I appreciate it, man. Really, I'm thankful for what you do here at FMA Discussion, and thankful for having the opportunity to talk about Cabales Serrata Screamer, and really thankful for the people who threw my name into the ring, man. That was really cool, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah. Like, I mean, there were several people that brought up your name, so I'm not surprised. I mean, just knowing your work ethic from Piper, I'm not surprised at all that your name came up. I mean, so before we get into FMA sort of stuff, you Krav Maga was right, kind of what you first got into and all that.
Yeah, I got started in Krav Maga. Some school teacher. I had some time to really try martial arts again. I was like a dojo bum in like high school and college, going from school to school or whatever. And I learned one move and then use it, and then I was like, all right, I'm off, And then I really wanted to do something for health, and I liked what I saw about Krav Maga, and I was heavily into Krav Maga, and then I got into Muay Thai. I really got into Muay Thai. Love that so much. And that really helped my, and I saw it from that. I was able to improve my Krav Maga. So I saw how one system can help another. And then, Krav Maga's got a lot of weapon defenses. And I liked what I was seeing, offhandedly from Filipino martial arts. And that's kind of where, I kind of got into my foray of FMA, because I wanted to explore what that was about, because the attacks that I was seeing coming from a Screamer and Kali were completely different than the ones I was seeing in Krav Maga. And I was like, good Lord, how would I defend that,
Interesting point you brought up there. So I'm going to go on a limb and take a guess. What you were seeing from FMA was more angle here, linear. And I'm guessing Krav Maga was addressing street attacks, your sewing machine, overhead ice pick.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I always think back to that Jim Carrey in Living Color video where he's doing the knife attack.
You attacked me wrong.
Yeah, and they're coming in like, the stiff arm Frankenstein. And, especially based on what I see even in my system, when we come in, I'm not raising my hand like that. I'm coming up over the top. And there was a lot of things that I was concerned with what I was seeing in Krav Maga. And not to jump ahead, but when I was training with Jeff Finder, and I said, humor me. I was like, I've seen, in the system I was in, I said, I've seen all the knife defenses for Krav Maga up to like black belt. You do what you do, I do what I do. And I should have let him stab me the first time. And I knew then and there that this was what I wanted to pursue. I needed to understand what was going on if I was to properly defend it. And then, my passion for FMA just overtook everything. So.
Okay, so I mean, so was it through the lens of Krav Maga? It sounds like it kind of made you want to pursue, based on what you were seeing as far as the weapon defenses. I'm guessing they don't, not too much on the weapon offense.
Not really, because most of the Krav Maga being taught, regardless of what they are telling you. I'm sorry, I'm a little critical of the Krav Maga community, having been a part of it and still am. Though, this is Krav Maga for the street. It's civilian Krav Maga, and it's different from what they teach law enforcement, which they teach military, which will have the more offensive weapon tactics. I think just out of good conscience, if you're teaching Krav Maga to people and how to eviscerate somebody with a knife, you're selling this wrong. It's a self-defense system. And even then, I didn't really see too much offense, and maybe like in disarming the weapon, like with a stick defense, they would have like a quick 1-2, but from what I've seen, it looked more like Harry Potter casting a spell.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some stuff from Krav Maga, and so it's not fair for me to make an opinion on it. But
no,
one of the things that when it comes to empty hand against knife is that you really need to understand the offense or the potential thereof. And so if you don't advocate the offense, I find it difficult that you can be in the community really professing weapon defense and all that. And I'm not saying they don't. I'm just saying what I've noticed or what I've seen. And I hope that's not coming over being too critical. Again, it's more of an observation point of view. But again, obviously their stuff's not all bad. I mean, plenty of people are doing it, so.
I mean, so I'm certified in 2 different systems, Krav Maga Worldwide and Alpha Krav Maga. Really love Alpha Krav Maga under Sam Sadeh. He's awesome coach and instructor. He rethinks his weapon defenses. Like he'll see like something and he'll be like, all right, we got to rethink that. And he's really about, revamping his system. With what I was seeing was they're banking on somebody not following up on an attack. And, my whole understanding, like even when I took Piper, I told you, I was like, I'm not looking to be a knife fighter. Yeah. I saw Piper and I was like, good Lord, I never would want to have to face that. And I'm a firm believer in, learn the violence to understand the violence to
100%.
Defend the violence.
Yeah.
And I think that is what's missing in Krav Maga. You get a lot of systems. And again, guys, don't take it out on Dean. If you have a problem with what I say about Krav Maga, it's all me, and I will own up to it. A lot of Krav Maga are CrossFit people who suddenly get certified, and they have no understanding of what street violence is or what actual violence is. They're just parrots reciting what they've been taught.
Yeah,
and that creates a problem. That's dangerous.
That's especially empty-handed against. Like where lives are at stake, injury like that. You got to really. That's and I have a problem not just with Krav Maga. Matter of fact, my problem with that really goes across the board, all entire martial arts community, regardless of the style, system, or whatever. It's just that if you haven't tested stuff out and you're giving it to students. Now, if you tell the students, hey, look, I didn't test this out. I'm giving you to what was given to me. Okay, well, at least they're being honest. But if they're pushing stuff that they haven't fully tested out and they're telling the students, like, this is what you need to do, I have a huge problem with that from an ethical standpoint, Oh,
yeah. And you're right. It's rampant in any system or style.
Right. It's not just Krav Maga or FMA. No. Yeah.
No, I can just speak with Krav Maga because I've seen it firsthand,
Yeah, and FMA, I've kind of seen it firsthand.
Well, too, but then there was I'm not going to mention anybody's name because I don't want to draw any attention to his YouTube page, but there was that clickbait that showed up like 2-3 weeks ago. I beat up a stick fighter, and there was zero pressure testing going on. You have a compliant attacker. That's all well and good, but who's leaving their arm out there? Who's doing, and you have to pressure test with what you're doing to really see what it's all about. I'm a believer.
Yeah, I know. And I tell you, like when I see a video, if I don't see full on with full resistance and all that, I just don't. Just because if I don't see the intention of the attack and, the guy struggling, because anybody does that knows it's anything but easy, failures induced and what have you. But we got some folks jump in. We got Alvin. Yes, Alvin. Thank you for the questions too. Molly Paul,
my brother, big brother.
Yeah, we got Eric O'Brien.
What's up,
that gator guy down in Florida, jumping around
No.
with machetes, jumping over alligators. Never know what that guy's up to down there. So all right, so what? I guess what we you're doing Krav Maga. You just mentioned you got really immersed in Thai boxing, was enjoying that. So what led you to segue to FMA, and who was the first, when, where, how? I guess.
So I was introduced to Sensei Sonny Mayo of Alpha Dose Paris, and
Okay.
I saw some of the stuff he was doing at a conference, and I was just like, and I'm blessed to call Sensei Sonny Mayo one of my mentors and instructors. And long and short, I was supposed to go and train with him, with another instructor who cut me out of it. And I felt boxed in, and my wife is from Vallejo in California. She's Filipino. And I knew that if I was going to find FMA, that I'd find something in that area. And there was two people I found. One was his gym, and he was just like, if you're going to come here, I need you to pay for a month. And I'm like, look, dude, I'm in town for a couple of days. I just need, a few private lessons. The other one was Jeff Finder. And, I didn't know anything about Jeff. I just saw his webpage, stickmaniscreamer.com. And I was like, all right, this guy fought in the Philippines, whatever. I don't know anything about him. $60 at the time for a 2-hour private lesson. I said, what's the worst that could happen? I burned $60 and I never see him again. I go back to the East Coast. And when I was working with Jeff, who I still defer to this day as my master, we just clicked. We just clicked, man. And it was halfway through the lesson. I was like, can I come back tomorrow? And it was just, there was something about Serrata that spoke to me, as a New York born and bred, guy. There was something that was very gritty about it. The fact that I wasn't shown angles first, I was shown defense first, and from a position of like, not, like a position of disadvantage. And it spoke to me like, and I'm not saying anything bad about a lot of the other systems at all. Please don't take this as a knock, but a lot of the other systems have that rich history of, we were defending the invaders. We were defending our barangay. We were defending our village. And Serrata, being honed in Stockton, big up to my Stockton boy. I see you, Henry. It's got a much different flavor. It's very street and gritty. And being somebody who's from Brooklyn, lived in the Bronx, like, it just like clicked with me. It's like, you're hanging out, somebody ran up on you, boom, you got to go. Ron Saturno coined it, pardon the expression. He said, you go from shit to get, like that.
Ooh.
And that's what spoke to me in Serrata, having, grown up in New York and, having been jumped, having been attacked with weapons, blade sticks, the whole nine. Like, it just spoke to me differently than any other FMA system does. And I could appreciate and I love everything that they do.
Yeah.
But there is like an almost urban grittiness to Serrata that was it. I was done. I was hooked.
Interesting. So prior to you finding Jeff Finder, so your preliminary experience was kind of through the lens of Sonny Mayo, Dose Paris.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and his stuff is just phenomenal. But it's just, I didn't get a chance to work with him like I wanted to. It was only after that Sonny and I had communicated that, and I was working with Jeff still, and I was training with Sonny, and he was giving me just a different way of like fine tuning my practice and my training and even my teaching. So I am, I've worked with him under his certification program for Dose Paris, but I'm known as the Serrata guy. So that's
yeah. I mean, we all have our, what really speaks to us. I mean, it's not to say that we don't like or appreciate the other styles and all that, but certain things just resonate with you, speak to you, and that's where you're gonna go. I mean, it's with all of us. I mean, we got Emmanuel here, my man from France. We gotta get him on here, man. If you want to come on the show one day, let us know. So like, what, besides, I understand you just said your initial focus was on the blocking, all that. What were some, like, right off the top, like, what were some of the things that stuck out besides the blocking when you were shown other stuff that really gelled with you?
I guess in a nutshell, like they always say it's in the basics in Serrata. And every once in a while, like either through the guidance of an instructor or master or just through self-practice, you learn something completely mind-blowing about the system. And it's like an onion where where the layers just keep getting peeled back, you
Mm.
know? And I think what offers it with Serrata is, yes, if you train it and you work with other people, you'll learn a lot. But a lot has to come from what's called hermit practice. I believe I heard that from Grandmaster J.C. Caballero. Like the whole notion of hermit practice, where you're really just exploring and internalizing the system.
Okay.
There's certain things like, you know what? Quick little demo. Let me move my guys over here.
Sure.
There was something that I had picked up watching Grandmaster Angel Cabales on the White Tiger video. Grandmaster Jeff Finder had put stuff up on there. Can I get one of you guys up here, please? Yes, awesome. So the outside block, which
Hey, excuse me, Nick. Do you want
yes.
me to lower? Do you want me to lower myself?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay. I'll give you the full
It's a quick
screen.
little demo. We're not going to get
Yeah. No worries.
But so the outside block, which we always say, if you haven't learned outside block first, you didn't learn Serrata. There was something I saw in the White Tiger video. So Vegas come in. Actually, wait a minute. Salute. There we go. Comes in. I'm here. Now, I would always hit with the tip of my stick. But I saw Grandmaster Angel come up here. All right? And I had to think to myself, I was like, why is he doing that? Why is he doing that? Well, first, you have a better fulcrum of power to come in and to attack. But there's a lot of things in Serrata that's like a bait and switch, okay? And what I noticed, I was like, well, my stick is right there. What if he grabs it? So through just studying what Grandmaster Angel was doing and just kind of being like, well, why does he do it like that? What would happen? What are my concerns? That's kind of what fueled a lot of my study and my appreciation for Serrata. There's just like a lot of little things like that. Because like I said, for the first part of my training, I was hitting with the tip. And then I watched the White Tiger video and I'm like, well, Mounting Angel's up here. Why? He's not around to tell me, right? And I don't feel like having to hound any of the other masters. So let me explore it. What am I concerned? Well, it's up there. He can grab it. Well, now what happens? Oh, boom. Right?
Yeah, right.
I want him to grab it. And you see a lot of things like that in Serrata where it's like that whole baiting, like, come on in, take my stick, see what happens, right?
Yeah, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, right. I mean, self-exploration. I mean, if you really take the time upon yourself to really investigate, you'd be amazed, like, what you can find. You know what I mean? It's like we take our strongest, asset, our brain, and we just say, oh, well, I'm just going to say what they say. But like, if you really break everything down, explore it, I mean, you'll be amazed what you can find. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I call them tree moments where I got to go sit under a tree and just contemplate what I learned for like an hour and just stare up at the sky. You know?
I gotta try that.
I have a lot of those in Serrata, where either things that I've self-discovered or something, one of my masters have told me, and I'm like, okay, and it doesn't click until it's also like, oh, that's what he meant.
Mm.
Yeah.
Those light bulb moments. So, I mean, now when you were out there, I mean, you're just visiting, like, so I'm only guessing you probably saw Jeff maybe for a few days, or.
Yeah. So initially, I saw Jeff for 2 days, and then I was just voracious in just like wanting to just study it. So it was just me on my own until he put me in touch with my brother Alan Stewart out in Long Island, who's the only other like Serrata guy in New York. And from where I'm at in New York, it's like a nice 2-hour drive. He lives on like the far east. He's closer to he's closer to Europe than he is to me, But Alan is from a different lineage, but still a Serrata guy. He worked with Nate Defensor, Fred Degerberg out in Chicago. A little bit more of a Dakosa flavor, and but like he helped me like see things a little bit differently and stuff. And then I would fly out with Jeff, and then God bless let me tell you something. As a martial artist, one of the most important tools in your toolbox is a loving and understanding wife. And my wife would be,
Amen.
yes, she was cool with me going out to California for a week, and I would spend a week with Jeff.
Yeah.
8, 12-hour days, nonstop, train, you know, and then just work through everything, you
Right.
know. And I did that a couple of times, and then bringing it back and starting the group unofficially. And then, you know, because Sonny Mayo told me this, he's like, you know, to teach is to learn twice, you
Interesting.
know,
I like that. Yeah.
and in explaining it to my guys and demonstrating it, you know, it was forcing me to really know what I was talking about. And something that you're a proponent of as a student of you and Piper is videotaping yourself and sending it to your instructor. And I would send
Mm,
Jeff videos, maybe a question about this and that, and maybe he would answer my question, or maybe he saw that I was doing something wrong, and he goes, "No, before I even address it, you need to fix that footwork and fix that hand and this and that," you know. So that was a big help. You know, I think being in the digital age was a huge benefit in for me learning Serrata, because I was able to bounce stuff off of him and
yeah.
get that feedback and corrections.
I know we're so lucky today. I mean, look what all we have at our hands to take advantage of, that, with modern technology. And right,
Mm-hmm.
I think sending vids to your instructor, I think it's essential. I mean, it's a good gauge, so in other words, it's like, say, waiting to go see him 6 months, I
Yeah,
mean, like, you could be doing something between, you know what I mean? Yeah.
but it
So,
it helps that my wife's family's from there, so
yeah.
you she doesn't have to twist my arm to come out to Northern Cali, which is good because, like, you know, believe it, like Jeff lived like 2 exits away off the highway, so it was like, oh, I'm gonna hang out with him. And then where they're at in Vallejo is only about an hour and a half from Stockton, you know. So there was a time I was able to go out there and work with Manon Carlito Bonhag, and Grandmaster Ron Saturno came out, and that was an experience working in the garage. And then I got to visit Grandmaster Vincent,
Oh
and
my gosh.
yeah, and that was really cool. And then working, and my man Mahipal's there, man, who had the ILF series, and I went down there and got to, you know, meet my brother now, man, and you know, him supporting me. You know, that was the other thing too, was it wasn't just like I was out there in New York and just being like, all right, fine, I'm good. It was like, no, I got to keep coming back. And these guys all know, like, I'm here, and I'm like, I want to keep getting better. I'm
Mm.
representing the system on the East Coast, and I've been blessed to have just such a great pool of instructors and students who've worked around me to support me, you know, and I wouldn't be possible with that. And I think that was the other thing too, is that I was willing to make those trips, and I was lucky that my wife's family was there, you know, so
Yeah.
that I was in that central location. So everything just, like, all the stars aligned, man. I got real lucky with that.
It's funny, so it sounds like, I mean, I know you mentioned that Jeff was your main teacher, but it sounds like, which I'm going to have you go into, of course, and this will kind of parallel Maestro Alvin's questions, but by virtue of you really making a point to seek out others besides Jeff, it sounds like Jeff obviously embraced that, you do that. It sounds like your window or exposure or your different lenses. I mentioned because it's kind of like what I'm doing in KI. I make a point to get in touch with it as many as I can, just because I want to see the different aspects of it and all that. Now, no one sanction or teacher having all the answers. So did you find it confusing, or did you find it ultimately helpful as far as you seeing these different folks and getting different nuances, tactics, approaches, methods, all the above?
I would say it was definitely helpful. You know, Grandmaster Jeff was really cool in just being like introducing me to other instructors. Like, you know,
That is nice.
he introduced me to Gordon Brown's Angel Disciples guys. He introduced me to Carlito. He took me out to that seminar. Carlito and I clicked right off the bat.
Mm,
Um, you know, actually, what was pretty interesting was I reached out to pretty much all the masters I could track down as best as I could through the emails. And I don't know whatever anybody else's reasons are, and I'm not speaking to that, but only two got back to me, and that was Carlito and that was Ron. You know, no, and actually three. I think Frank Riamish actually got back to me. He was one of the ones because I was able to track him on Facebook, and I was just like, "Hey, I'm the guy in New York. I just want to let you know I'm here. If there's anything I'm not doing right. And that's the other thing I always put myself out for is accountability. If you see me doing something that's not in line or whatever, or you have a question about, please feel free to talk to me about it. And having worked with the other instructors, their flair, for Serrata is different, with each one. I would say, Carlito's a consummate teacher, man. Like he's really helped me working with him on how I teach Serrata. There was that blip in time where we weren't having classes because of COVID. And then I worked really heavily with Carlito online. And then one of my old students was like, you're like a whole different instructor now. He's like, I was like, good or bad? He's like, good. He's like, you're breaking the system down differently. And I'm still doing the same thing. Ron is really big on, I speak with Grandmaster Ron about the combatives and stuff like that. Grandmaster Vincent, I hold to my quality control. It's his father's system.
Yeah.
He's the one who gave me the blessing to have the New York group and use the old logo,
Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay.
Well, you have to understand, like being from New York and, you're an outsider, right? And, we always joke the East-West Coast beef or whatever like that. But Stockton is rightfully so fiercely protective of their arts.
I understand it. I get it. I understand it.
And I made sure, when I sat with Grandmaster Vincent, that I said, look, I have no designs on slapping my name on the system. I have no designs on doing anything. I want to teach it as best as it was taught by your father from what I'm learning from all these different guys. And, I worked with him in his garage and, he ran through a lot of my stuff and, he gave me a lot of really good pointers and things like that. And ultimately I said to him, if you don't like what I'm doing, let me know. We'll work it out, and I think it's a matter of being humble too at this point, knowing that I'm a representative of the system, that when these other instructors offer me ideas, I'm never going to, well, Jeff showed me this.
Yeah.
All right.
Not a good way to go.
What do I tell you if another instructor tells you something different? They're all shy. What do I tell you? To what? They're all quiet. I tell them to just shut up and do what they're told.
You know what I mean? It's just like, because there could be a nugget in there. There could be just, and all, yeah, and it just avoids like, I know. But, what I'm guessing is they probably saw the honesty and humility in you. And I'm sure that resonated and they appreciated that. And that's why they probably didn't feel, that you had bad intentions or even questionable intentions. So I'm sure they saw, the genuineness in you. So I'm sure that's how that played out, Yeah.
It's just a system I love. And I just wanted to share it and learn under it and stuff like that. And like I said, it really wasn't confusing, having worked with so many different guys because, everybody that I've worked with has had the common interest of seeing me succeed out here on the East Coast. Even guys like Mahipal and him at the last ILF, he pulled me aside. He goes, "Hey, dude, you need to sit with Manong JC and just talk." And it's stuff like that. He didn't have to do that, but he wants me to succeed. You know what I mean? Some of Grandmaster Vince's too. My man Henry, who's watching, always checking in on me. Hey, what's going on? Blah blah blah. Bouncing ideas off of each other. And having that support has been great from all of these guys, man. That's really what I would attribute. It hasn't been confusing. It's been crucial. It's been crucial to have all these different guys support me. And it's also exposed me to different things.
I think that's fantastic, the support. I think it behooves a student to get as many lenses and different variations from the instructor, especially if you really, really want to immerse yourself in whatever particular system it is to really get a better understanding. And it's going to benefit your students too. The more, views you can get them in the different methods. I mean, it's, again, I only reference this to KI because I made a conscious choice to do that. And it's really, in the beginning, it was confusing for me. It was. However, though, that confusion gradually changed into like light bulb moments, more clarity. And I'm so glad I did it. I'm continuing to do it. And it's also, I think it's going to be really benefit my students, besides my overall understanding. And it sounds like that's what you're kind of going through.
Yeah, it's, I was really blessed with Jeff, who was just like, I was like, hey, I'm going to train with Sonny Mayo. Is that all right? And he goes, is it going to make you a better martial artist? He said, yeah. He goes, so who am I to stand in your way? And for Jeff to be
That's
so open,
awesome.
exposed me to other guys that even I tell my guys, I was like, you go to California, call this guy, call this guy, call this guy, train with this.
Yeah.
When COVID hit, we had a free Serrata class. I opened it up. I mean, I had to vet people because I didn't need like trolls and stuff showing up. But what happened was Jeff Carlito would show up regularly,
Okay.
and they would always say, "Oh, I'll just sit back and you teach the class." Which for me, having to teach in front of my teachers, and then Jeff go, "Hold on a second,
I'd be a nervous wreck.
Oh, wait. I love him. But man, Ron Saturno showed up one time and he goes, hey, Nick, so I see you doing this. Why? And Jeff goes, well, Ron. And Ron goes, no, Jeff, let Nick explain it to everybody. I mean, really holding my feet to my fire. Now, my students are kind of like, watch it. Like I see their faces on the screen like, oh God. They called him to the carpet, but they're also kind of laughing because as their instructor, they see me having to answer to somebody, and I wanted my guys exposed to these other instructors as well, and I encourage that. If they reach a plateau with me and they still want to do Serrata, then you need to go work with this guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I took you as far as I can take you, or something like that.
That's refreshing, right? Because why? You're valuing the student's journey more than that's the most important. Yeah, and I know, no argument here. I think it's wonderful stuff that you're sharing with us as far as that is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And
But
yeah, I mean,
when instructors have a technique that they can't do, so they don't teach it. Or a technique they don't quite understand, so they don't teach it. There's certain things I can't do because of my knees, but I can walk my students through it. And if that's what they can do, certain things that I may not feel comfortable because of my body type, right?
Gotcha.
Burly Guinea from New York, right? So maybe one of my more slender, agile students could do something that I can't do. Well, I'm not going to hold them back from that, and I'll show them that
just because
as
you
best
can't,
as I can.
Yeah, it's like, maybe perhaps you don't like a tactic or technique, maybe it doesn't resonate with you, but that's not to say your students might not like it. So what do? You remove it completely? It's like,
That's exactly it. You can't do that, man.
No, I don't think so anyhow. But hey, this is a couple questions from Alan. So, okay, first question. It's interesting to see subtle differences in what and how GM Angels directs students teach next generations. My understanding is that he has had different Serrata teachers, though I could be wrong. Meaning you had different teachers, which you've already mentioned. Could he share differences in approaches you've been exposed to? So we're kind of at a perfect point for that. So I guess you mentioned Maestro Ron, Jeff, Vincent, and I think I might be forgetting somebody. But I guess, like, what they impart in you as far as your journey, and what was different as far as their approach, whether it be techniques, tactics, teaching methods?
Well, Grandmaster Jeff has been my foundation in that. And anybody who knows Jeff Finder he is a man of the basics. Like, he's all about the basics and exactly as it was taught to him. And he's got a myriad of different systems under his belt and experience and stuff like that, from Kempo, I believe it was under Al Thomas, and, Tai Chi with John Wong, and just, his whole experiences and his approach to teaching and explaining things. I find myself saying things, I call them Jeffisms, where I say things at how he was, but it was that reliance on the basics. And then working with Ron and Carlito showing me other techniques, because Jeff's got the advanced certificate, but Carlito had that real intense instructor training, as far as what Grandmaster Angel was showing him, and then just explaining it and how to teach it. So from him, not only did I get like different concepts on the techniques and variations, but definitely on how to disseminate the system. And one of the things that sets me apart, because open book here, I have no real certificate in Serrata. I have a beginner certificate from Grandmaster Jeff, and then he promoted me to Guru on one of my weapons. I don't have a piece of paper. I'm not a paper chaser. I'm not claiming to have a master's certificate or anything like that. But I fight a lot. And what Grandmaster Ron would do, knowing my love for the combative aspects of the art, would show me different applications of it. For example, I'll do that in the demos later, but like the cross block, where, lead, bleed, hit. That's, that in practice, but in combative, it's boom, coming right in. So, in showing me a bit more of the combative aspects of it. And then just different little things like, the DaCosta lineage is a little bit different than what I've been exposed to from what I've got. And, seeing a little bit more of the Sinawali double stick and a little bit more of like the empty hand stuff, which has been great, where I got that from Alan and I got that from the Orlando Eskrima group. Love those guys. As I got family in Orlando, so I'm lucky. Everywhere I go, there's something.
Oh my gosh! You can go to California, you get the Mecca. You go to Florida, man. That's rough, Nick.
Yeah, I know. I listen, but that when I talk about all the stars aligning with Serrata, like I firmly believe that, man. Like there's just so many happenstance things where it's like, oh, my parents live 10 minutes away from the Orlando group. Oh, my wife 15 minutes from Jeff and an hour from Stockton. Just on a spot chance, I meet Mahapal, who's like, hey, by the way, we're having all the Stockton guys. I would like, I offer this up to you to come to ILL. Okay. It's just a lot of things fell into play, and I got dealt a good hand with Serrata, man.
It sure sounds like it. Yeah. And folks, got some new folks jumping in. We got co-host with the co-host. We got Tom Pena.
Hey, all right.
And a challenging situation. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anybody. And folks, if you're watching, tell us where you're watching from. Smash that like button. Again, we got Nick Merchant, Cabales Serrata, piping and some rapping on the side. We got Spencer G, who's coming on tomorrow, folks.
Nice.
All right. Okay, so Alvin's second question is, did he learn in the traditional way, meaning you getting proficient in each counter at a time before being given new material?
I would say the short end of that answer would be no. Okay. To some degree. When I first worked with Jeff those first 2 days, he showed me, angles 1 and 2 and some defenses and stuff like that. Okay. And then when we started doing more of the intense training and he knew what I was going up against and what I wanted to do, he would go through the angles. Like we'd spend a day on angles 1 and 2, then the next day 3 and 4, then 5 and 6 and 7, 8, and I was shown the progression of the material as it was done, but I wasn't forced into proficiency. Because like I said, not holding any real certificates. It wasn't until like the second bout of real intense training that Jeff gave me a beginner certificate. That was it. I just have the basics under my belt. But it was a matter of when we go back, I always go back to the beginning. All right, let's run through my ones. What am I not doing right? What I go, okay, no, you're good. Twos. So I always worked through that progression. When I had the pleasure of working with Grandmaster Vincent, he was like, he's like, what do you want to work on? I was like, what are you going to show me? He goes, I'll show you everything. And I said, no, let's just work angles 1, 2, and 3. I wasn't looking for, I said, let's just go back to the basics. Let's just do 1, 2, and 3. And he was fine with that. And we ran through those. And I wanted, because as it was told to me by Jeff, he was like, oh, you've learned to defend 3 angles. He goes, you're an Escrimador now. And I was like, what does that mean? He goes, well, if somebody challenges you to a death match, you have to accept. I was like, what? I was like, what if somebody challenges me to a death match? He leans in, he goes, better practice.
Oh gosh.
But I always firm up with the basics. Whenever I meet with a new instructor or, when I met with those guys, they're like, well, where do you want to go? I'm like, let's start with angle 1. And we work. Yeah, because
they might give you a different look or different things from there. So I don't think that's a bad place to start. I mean, see what their take is on the basics, and see if they can give you some gems as far as you and give them to your students. So I kind of agree with that, I mean, what's advanced techniques? basics being done effortlessly, right? Some
Yep.
say. So, no argument here. So, all right. So now you started. When did you start? Teach it. Were you kind of given a blessing, or when did you start teaching it?
So really, as soon as I got back from my first session with Jeff, I just pulled some guys that I knew to like just kind of just share what I've learned. So I had training partners. So admittedly, it was selfish of me to start teaching it because
I
I was
don't know.
trained with.
I don't think so. I think well, one, you're not letting go. You're keeping a fresh memory of it. All
Mhm.
that. So I think it's a good way to do it. And then you're reinforcing what you got through verbal sharing and demonstration.
Mhm.
I think it's a way to go, actually.
No, and
Um,
it wasn't until I had that first, like like I said, when Jeff gave me my certificate, that's basically where he gave me. He's like, yeah, he's like, start your group, be more open about it, and
well, good, good, good.
I was at, they let me, start teaching students there and stuff.
And all
Yeah,
the others, as far as like Monron, Vincent, Carlito, they were all accepting, on board, and encouraging.
yeah. I mean, at the point that I met like Carlito, Ron, and Grandmaster Vincent, I had already had the group started, and it was Carlito was real supportive of it, and so was Ron. They were like, if anything we can do to
Mm,
help you and stuff. And then when I met Grandmaster Vincent at the Stigmata, it was a matter of like, here's the Grandmaster of our system. You gotta show him what you're doing.
yeah. Oof,
Uh,
I'd be like, oh my gosh.
no, but he was really cool about it, man.
Um,
I also had the blessing to meet his brother Johnny, Grandmaster Johnny Cabales, rest in peace. And then when I went to meet with Grandmaster Vincent at his house, it was twofold. Number one, to let him know what my intentions were, and number two, to work with him and let him see what I was about. It basically, if he
mm,
had told me at the end of that session, like, listen, kid, just stop teaching for a bit and come back and train.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
him to be like, no, your Serrata's good. Keep doing with anything I could do to help you. I was like, okay, cool.
Oh, that's fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So what do you? Okay, so you're teaching. What do you try to? What do you try to instill in your students, impart in them, as far as well, the folks behind you.
Um. So So one of the things that really offsets me from I think from other members of the Serrata community, and I'm not saying they don't or they do this is stuff, is that they openly incorporate full contact fighting. That has to do with my foray with the Dog Brothers. Um,
Fender.
the Fender dog, who is my ace, and he beats my behind every Saturday morning. His kid was coming to the martial arts school that I was working at. I just happened to say, hey, we're having a seminar here, and he's like, oh no, I do that, and he's like, I'm an instructor. And I was like, oh, what system? He's like, Dog Brothers, and I was like, I don't have to
Oh,
tell you anything, So I was like, but I think with him, he was like, as he always says, to drink the Kool-Aid. Here's another guy we can get into it. And some of the guys came from like Virginia and Boston, and we went over to Sonny Mayo's gym, and they were doing the full contact sparring. That was the first time I did it. And my brother, who terrorizes me, Foxhound, really put me through the ringer. And what happened was I got my butt handed to me. And I always think back to what Jeff says. He goes, did the technique not work, or did you not work the technique? And I started realizing that I had to start thinking about Serrata in a more combative aspect and putting it
mm,
into what it could be, or what it should be, actually. Because Grandmaster Angel he had death matches, and apparently he was alive and kicking for many, many years. So
something
he
must
was
have
on the
worked.
winning end of those.
Yeah,
So with that, real quick, Alvin, I did not take offense to your question, brother. I know you always respectful.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Alvin's
no,
over.
no,
Yeah.
no, that's totally fine, man. I'm an open book.
Mm,
But having worked with Defender Dog and Foxhound, and actually going out there and putting my Serrata to the test, has changed drastically my understanding of Serrata. Case in point, the cross block.
Okay.
I hated the cross block when I first did it for high angles, 1s and 2s. Real quick,
That's a
I
good
use
question,
Serrata
actually,
like
that you
sticks.
just asked.
I'll get to that.
Okay.
I hated it, but it saved my butt in a match, right? So quick demo.
Sure. I will lower myself.
All right, somebody else, come on. Come. Thank you, Byron. Great, the guy who's making me really dive in. Nice. All right, so the cross block, man. Okay, so coming in, it's a lead and bleed technique, right? So he comes in, and I'm here, and I'm leading it out. Boom, 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 boom. In the match that I had at the Dog Brothers Open, all right, I was fighting, and I went for a thrust. The guy swatted my weapon away. So swat it the other way. There we go. Like this. And I was caught out here. The guy was coming back with a backhand, and I did this. And it was through the combat that I really understood the importance of the cross block. I kid you not, and I am a bit of a comedian, but when he did that, coming in, and I threw that thrust, and he swatted it out, and he came back, and I bled it. Time froze, and I was like, the cross block, it's perfect. And it was through that combat that I really finally grasped what that was all about, like the importance of the cross block. So much so that when we start our contact sparring, one of the first things I have my guys do is defend with the cross block, and we'll do that with the demo in a few moments if you'd like. All right.
You know, I gotta really compliment you, among many things. You know, and those who don't know, Nick's a student of mine, and work ethic beyond anybody. Why? Nick is the first person to reach level 2 in Piper. Due to what? Work ethic. And going out there and pushing the envelope to see what works and all that. But there are a bunch of and again, you know, each to their journey. I don't have a dog in this fight. You know, do what you want to do. If it makes you happy, that's great. But you're one of the few that get out there and actually try it, and that I know of, in all fairness to community, that I know of, that really go out there and fight with it. Like there's another gentleman, I think, in New York that teaches it, and the name has escaped me. I want to say he's upper state New York.
Yeah, Anthony DeSaro.
You're right.
He's a student of Carlitos and Bruce Chutnick, I believe.
Okay, and I know a couple of students, and I know they're not. And again, nothing wrong with it. I mean, do what makes you happy. You know what I mean? But I know they're not doing what you're doing, and that was a great example. You want to go thrust, he wipes center, he's coming back at you, and you're. I mean, so that was, if you pull that off real time, real speed, man, that is awesome. I think, anyhow.
In that one moment, at that full contact at the Dog Brothers Open, shifted everything for me. I was like, now I understand the cross block, and I imparted hard on my students where I'm like, you have no idea the importance of this block. Wow. You know, and I think for me personally, I think all the drilling and practice in the world would not have done that for me if it wasn't for putting it out there. And as what Alvin had asked, in the contact matches, I used the Serrata length stick. You know, there's a lot of I don't want to say controversy about the length of the Serrata stick, but if you watch a lot of the earlier videos with Grandmaster Angel, he used a 28-inch stick. And a lot of the early guys do. I know Ron and Carlito used 28-inch sticks. But there was a point in time where the stick length had changed. From my understanding, what's it called? Monong Angel had a Kamagong stick, and he cut it down the length because it was too hard, like a twist on the wrist. And then that's when a bunch of the other students saw the shorter stick and followed suit. But
interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. Because here's what and again, I'm not saying this is right. You know, you hear, you know, when you do these interviews, man, you get exposed to all kinds of stories and all that behind the scenes. I can't tell you how many messages I wake up to every morning. But going way back, somebody was telling me that the reason why the weapon was short, when Angel worked over there on the docks or something, it was based on pipe, like kind of like, you know, again, I'm not, obviously I wasn't there, so I couldn't tell you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is there any truth to that?
So that's what I had heard the story. So from palm to armpit,
Okay.
easily concealable along the length of the arm, and then comes right out. So yeah, Grandmaster Angel had a lot of jobs where he worked with at the docks, he worked in
Okay.
the fields and stuff like that. So
Yes, I mean, there's some, not that there's anything wrong with that. Just I think it's kind of neat as far as a historical point of view. The nature of the weapon, and that's how it changed the time. Don't stop in the nature. It changes with time. Okay. So it sounds like what you're still in your students and all that. How do you, because I want to get to the demos, because it sounds like you got quite a bit. How do you gradually instill sparring with them to get more acclimated, more comfortable with it, being less stressful? What's your magic? What do you do?
So you've heard me talk about. So as Dean has alluded to, I'm a musician. I'm big into music. And I have a three-prong approach. Pick your own three favorite bands that fit into this category. I call it the Pink Floyd, Motley Crue, Ramones theory, right? Ooh. So Pink Floyd, the younger guys out there who don't know, was this real progressive arena rock band with these weird melodies and 20-minute songs and synths and all sorts of weird stuff. And when I teach the classical technique, right, as it was taught to me by Jeff, I refer to that as Pink Floyd. It's not a knock, right? But it's just, there's a lot to it, right? So let me get one of my guys here.
Sure. You want me to lower myself?
You don't have to do it for this one. Just real quick. Okay. You can fit right here, Jim. Get it? So Jim comes in with the 1, right? And I do the inside block, right? Now, that's Pink Floyd. There's multiple movements and things that go along to it. Now, Motley Crue, great musicians, but they stripped it down, right?
So I was liking where this is going.
He comes in with boom, boom, boom. I shorten it up a little bit more combative.
Okay.
Now, and I'm sorry, I'm a New York guy. Ramones, probably the
greatest
band on the planet. They
favorite
stripped
band.
rock and roll down. Huh?
1, 2. Oh, my favorite band. Saw them 3 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this I want to see.
So the Ramones took music and they stripped it down to just what was essential, and they made it twice as fast. So now, that's it. Pop, pop. Just going right for the kill. That's the more combative, right? So even with like the umbrella block, that's the Pink Floyd. That's the Ramones. Bang,
I like your analogy.
So, thank you, Surgeon. And just stripping it down. And then once they kind of get the concept of that, okay, we get into the realm of controlled sparring, okay? And this is where my wife hates me, is that I'm the target at first, okay? So what my students do, I got on the face mask, I got the gloves, and I got the foam stick. And I have them work from what's called our lock position, all right? Now, the lock position, all right, stick here, droop, here, and you work from this. Now, the reason why we have the stick at an angle, twofold, from my understanding. I can go to a cross block, I'm here, umbrella, roof, all right? But also, with the squeezing of my hand, I've now occupied that space. Right? So I want them to get comfortable in the lock position. Anybody who's seen me fight will see me as I'm moving around, right? No matter what my footwork is, and I'm here, moving in the lock, boom, right here, boom, right here. And it allows me to manipulate the stick and get into other positions, because when we do our counters in Serrata, we finish with the lock.
Okay.
This here, hands open, that's a daga. But what could it be? It could be a punch, it could be a slap, it could be a snatch, right? But it's always constantly from the side, 1 in, 1 out, 1 in, 1 out. Right. Elbows down, and this being loose. Again, it's a loose grip, and my only beef with other systems is when they see stuff in Serrata like the loose grip, the shoulder block or the spinning,
Okay.
I hear, oh, I'm going to take that stick from you. And I'm not bragging, has not happened yet. You
No.
know, because there's a
There you
reason
go.
behind Serrata. And people tend to like, you know, people become disciples of their system, and justly so, but they kind of lose that open mind. And when they see some of the things that Serrata does, well, I'd never do that. You don't have to, but don't, you know, trash talk what it is until you understand it.
Yeah, yeah, I know. Like you don't, yeah, exactly. You don't have to.
Hmm.
You're not doing the system, so you don't like why are you worrying about it? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Wow. Well, hey, I'm ready for demos. So
Okay.
um I will lower myself and you just kind of tell me when to resurface.
Okay. No problem. I'm going to need some of you guys to suit up. All right.
So folks, demos.
Yeah, we're going to do some full contact demos too in a few moments. So, yeah, you get to see people get bruises and whatnot. But so the
First
first thing
on
I want to
FMA discussion.
is it. I don't know. I mean, you've had some of the Dog Brother guys on there. I'm sure there might have been some hitting.
Nah, I mean, they didn't. No, I think this could be a first. I don't
All
know.
right. Well, if you've
I don't
come for
know.
blood, you might see it.
Hey,
All right.
so new waters here.
So I do want to go over the shoulder block. All right. Because there was a gentleman who was talking on one of the forums. I've never seen a shoulder block pull off. It's been pulled off in combat. All right. But since it's one of the most misunderstood blocks, all right, it's coming from the backhand angle too. The reason why it's misunderstood from the forward version here is I open up my stick like this, all right? This isn't necessarily the position I want to be in, but this is where people get confused as I'm here, and we go that slow. Live speed, I'm not leaving it out there. Now the stick is here as a deflection, or if it's a blade, I can get a little extra slice on it, all right? So Vic, come over here. The key is I'm not absorbing the strike as much as my check hand is coming in and I'm deflecting off of it. To get that with us, there's two things that can happen with the shoulder block. I'm not going this. Well, you can hit my stick. There you go. See, I almost lost my stick. Check hand is important. When we do our check hand, it's here, right? And you see our C hand, C for Cabales. Comes in, I come down that center line. This comes up just to cover me. I shouldn't hear I should hear a, if anything. So he comes in, I cover, hammer, lock, and block. All right, a little bit live speed here. Now, combatively, where when you have the gloves on, you don't have as good of a grip on the weapon, and nobody's going to be standing there to do that because you guys are both moving around trying to kill each other. He comes in with the two, and I do more of a dive out. It's a combative lock. Now, funny enough, as I did this, I happened to watch a video of Mono Angel who did that. So I definitely was watching it. I was like, oh, I'm on the right path. Here, I need to bring the weapon up because I'm not absorbing the blow. It's not a wing block. I'm here, and I got to step with it. That check hand needs to come in. Boom. Okay? Thanks. Good. Other one I want to show people a little bit more is the outside block. Come on, Jim. Hurry. Get over there. Outside block is the one that we definitely show a lot. Any questions on that one, actually, before I move to the outside block?
Oh, okay. You froze there for a while, but it sounds like you're back. Okay. Okay.
Oh, you guys missed all of that?
No. Oh, no. You only froze for like 5 seconds. No
Okay.
worries. Yeah.
It's because of my good
Everybody
luck.
saw the first one. Was when
It
you
takes a
started
lot of
talking about.
bandwidth to transmit this face online, Dean.
Yeah. So it's only when you started talking about the second thing you wanted to show. So nothing was missed.
Oh.
So no worries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, so before I move on, do you have any questions about the shoulder block or anything?
Folks, anything on the shoulder block before he goes into the second demo? It's very, seems very, what they call Pluma and KI.
It
12,
is.
6, you know.
Actually, there is I'm remiss to talk about the spinning of the stick, which you see in the shoulder block. That's another thing people are like, oh, you're spinning your stick around. When we spin the stick, it's to generate a snap. Right here, and I'm pulling in. Boom. Additionally, it's covering my line. So anything comes in the contact, and I brace it, and I can cover myself.
Yeah.
The other thing is it's great for trapping and disarms.
All right, I'm gonna lower, Nick. I'm gonna lower myself.
Absolutely, sir. And 2. So I come up here. Now, if I want to disarm, that's where my spin strike comes into play. Okay. It also works when we do on the outside block, the spin strike, which I will show here. So outside, I parry, come in, cover, space here, elbow, check, redirect. Okay? Hammer, flip, lock and block. Now to add the spin strike in it when I pop, don't move your hands so far. Just be somewhat non-compliant. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's here. I use the puño to hook in there. Now, a lot of times with Serrata, we have our stick flush. All right? You may see a little bit there and there, but the way I was taught was flush. If I need the puño, it's there. Right? So coming in on that, covering. Maybe I want to do that spin. I hook, right? I smash, right? I smash. Let me put it there. Now, the outside block is one of the ones that are taught first for the majority of Serratas. They say if you didn't learn an outside block first, you didn't learn Serrata. And the reason being is you're learning parry, covering, elbow. There's a lot of elbows in Serrata. Serrata means to close or to lock, all right? But Serrata means also close. I'm here, boom. I'm learning a quick counter, angle 2. My check hand, that's another part of the outside block, and redirecting. My students know that when you find yourself to the outside where they're facing forward and I'm T-boning them, we call that the promised land, because this is where you want to end up in a weapon fight. I don't want to be here going back 1s and 2s, 1s and 2s, right? And, oh God, who's going to throw the first 3? Oh, okay, you know, versus he comes in. Ooh. Sorry, Jim.
It's all good.
Oh God, these are Jeff Finder sticks, so these really hurt. All right, take a break, Jen. I don't want to hurt you up anymore. Right. Sorry, Jen's parents, you're watching. Good Lord. Who's up next? Quick. Come on, Byron. Now, the other thing is that there's a lot of empty hand applications that can go into play with this as well, which is why I like the outside block. I'm going to need you with knife in a second. All right, so he comes in, right? I'm parrying, I'm covering, or what I can do, boom, throw a hook. Now I'm here, bang, check hand, trap, and I finish out there. So the beauty is with the Serrata, and this is true for pretty much any other FMA system, is, and this is the big mistake that people not in FMA always say, well, if you don't have a stick in your hand, what do you get? We're fine, right? He gives me a 1, my inside block. Right? I use this. As Defender Dog always says, my stick and my stick. We also use the outside block for knives. Right, get me? Yep. Thank you, Byron. Straight. Straight step. Straight forward, right? So coming in, slight variation. Thank you, Master Ron, for the punch. Coming with the straight step. And I'm in my outside position. Right? And a little bit of variation. Now I'm here. I like to hook at the elbows. I like to control my own elbow coming in. If he comes in with that slash and I step out, that's straight slash. Yeah, slash across the body. I'm there. He comes with a backhand slash. I'm already covered. Come in. All right. So we really like the outside block because it does have a lot of applications to it. Sorry, you did that upward slash. I wasn't ready. Oh, no, you're good, man. Sorry, you stabbed me in front of everybody. Awesome. So, Dean, you can bring us back up. And we'll have a few more after that.
Yeah. No, very enjoyable. I mean, I'm actually getting a better look at Cabales and all that. And I like you were saying about the outside reference and its multiple applications. Mm-hmm. So, I think that's a good thing as far as that you got a theme there, and has multiple lenses and all that. So I'm a fan of that. What was I going to say there? If I'm just checking to see if there are any requests or questions, and no, so whatever else you want to show.
Okay, so but I guess what I could show people is where we get into the full contact sparring and how we build up to that. All
Sure.
right, so I'm gonna need one of you guys geared up, and then one of you guys just ready with a stick. All right, not a Jeff stick. I don't feel like having my hand broken on camera today. So, as many people in the FMA community know, Jeff Finder made these hard plastic weapons. And
Okay.
unfortunately, just due to circumstances, he had to close up shop. These things, this is still my first pair of sticks from like 6 years ago.
Wow.
And I have a bunch of other ones. I mean, his stuff, like his sticks, stand the last of the time. Brian, we'll get to Piper in a minute. His stuff will stand the test of time. But if you have any of his blade replicas, I mean, works of art, man. And it was a shame because he was putting out some of the best stuff, and people kind of
That's too
slept on it.
bad.
And then when he was closing up shop, suddenly everybody wanted some, and I'm like, and then people were hitting me up because I was a student. They're like, I know you got extras, and I'm like, yeah, I do, not for sale.
Yeah,
Get
I know
buried
you
with
want
me.
to hang on. Yeah, especially if he's not making them anymore. You want to hang on to those. Yeah.
Nope. And I don't care. I'd put his stuff up against those phenolic Budo Brothers sticks in a heartbeat.
Oh wow,
In
must
a
be. Oh, they
heartbeat.
sound like they're good.
Listen, this one, I smashed a shipping pallet with it, like those big wooden ones.
Yeah.
I just went to town. Like, bah, 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 bah. I've hit bricks with it. Nary a scratch, though. Jeff would yell. Yeah. I
Obviously
mean,
well
it
made.
hurt my hand more than the stick because like the shock went right through. I was like, ah. But all right, so we're gonna talk about the how I do the controlled sparring and how I build my guys up to it. All right. So
Sure. I will lower myself.
who's not geared up? I need you first because we're going old school here. All right, Vicus, my man. All right. So this is where I put myself in harm's way for my students because I love them. And I want them to get better. Where's your wood stick? You got a wood stick? Please don't kill me, Vic. Yeah, the other one. Way to be prepared, guys. Okay. Joking. All right. So I have my hockey gloves on. I got my face mask. I got my foam stick. All right. So Vic and I come in. Old school. You just go from my hand. You're from the lock position. Lock position, right? So no matter what I strike, I send at him, I want him to react from the lock position, all right, to hit my hand. Oh, quicker than that, Vic. Good. My hand, Vic, not my forearm. Good. We aim for the hand because it's a harder target to hit. Lock, stay locked, stay locked, stay locked. Good. 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 Hit my hand, Vic. Don't block. Good. Good. And I'm giving him the different angles of Serrata. Good. And then, good. Good. Thank you, Vic. So just to kind of get them acclimated, letting me take the shots, letting them learn how to hit me as well. Jin, come on up. Then it graduates, right? We got to introduce consequences. So now, no more foam stick, we get the wooden stick. So Jin, from the lock position, and then the +1 to the head. No cross block, just hitting the hand first. So I come in, boom, good. 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 Nice. So from there, we progress to using the cross block. So no matter what I throw at Jin, he has to hit me. He has to defend with the cross block and the immediate counter, which preferably to the head because that's where I have the protection. Ready, Jin? Back. Good. Everything cross block. Go. Good. 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 You want to go for a second shot too? Go. Good. Nice. Now, as the instructor, I start to incorporate my own defenses because, to be selfish, I need some training time too. Remember that, students. Your instructors need to train, and if they're not training, I don't know what to tell you. So now we do the same drill again, Jim, but now I get to defend. Ready? Now he's getting consequences. Ah, you saw that shoulder block. And time. All right, shoot up. And then we try to take everything that we've learned as the guys get more comfortable in working through angles, and we go full sparring. So we'll give you guys a little taste of that. This is Byron. Byron likes to take me to the ground. Oh, you going big stick? Okay. That's fine, buddy.
That's how we roll. So,
Hey, listen, man. Byron threw me a curveball and he went with a bigger stick. That's fine. Because these are the sticks that we do actually fight with eventually. Back in.
get it, Byron.
You're nice today. We're on camera. Both of us working from the the lock position. Hands with the crossbody. Switcheroo. The kids watching at home, that was another shoulder block. Hook on live combat. And time. And that's how we incorporate sparring. Like
well done. Hey, you got your guys here? Here, let's get the guys up here.
Guys, come on up. Come on. Come on through. Come on through. Very proud of these group of guys.
Oh, I can see why.
He's been with me the longest. When I'm not around, I let him lead my classes.
Awesome.
Good. This is Jin.
I know Jim from all
15 years old.
those Piper vids.
Let me tell you, this kid. A lot of you guys in your 20s and 30s, you better watch out when he starts competing, man. That's Jin. Byron. All right, my man Byron, who's tough as nails. He's starting to progress into the full contact fighting.
Nice.
Went up with me to Boston for beat the crap out of cancer. Held his own, earned his respect, love it. So,
Oh,
see where
fantastic.
he's gonna go from that. And then my man from the Bronx, Ryan, who's got a lot of he's got a lot of awesome knife experience and stuff
Is that the
like
Libre
that.
guy?
And, you know, he's been banging around with the New York Dog Brother group as well. But Serrata's another one of those systems that spoke to him, man.
Is that the Libre guy?
Yeah, he's done some Libre, and you worked with Barry Kuda, correct?
Yeah, Barry Kuda did my tour.
Okay.
Yeah. So these are my guys. I'm greatly proud of them.
Absolutely. Thank you, all of you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. And Jen, sorry about your hand before.
It's fine.
Those things happen. But,
Yeah.
you know, that's when I teach to contact. And I don't mean to, we actually hit. But when I come through, I want my stick touching the target. And I know this is, I don't say a point of contention with some Serrata guys, but there are some Serrata guys who train and they hit an inch off the body. And I understand that. Well, I don't want to break the guy's hand. I don't want to do this, that, but we go very slow and smooth, right? There's a difference when I say, training speed versus live speed, to build up that sense of control, but also to understand that there's a target in mind. And that, believe it or not, influence from my father. He was in the Army. He was a bit of a roustabout, and he hung out with this guy that was a stuntman from California, and they got into a bar fight, and the guy was doing all these great moves, but nobody was falling because the guy was trained to hit 4 to 6 inches away from people.
Okay.
And, that's always stuck with me as a story as a kid that, God forbid my students ever have to use this. I want them connecting. I don't want to think, oh, I can't, I got to, no, boom, 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 boom. Your adrenaline will take care of everything else.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. No, obviously,
thank you for allowing us.
Obviously your progression, it shows in there. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So what else are you? Okay, so obviously you continue the Cabales path.
Hmm.
Obviously, um, quickly, if there was one FMA art, if you had the time and the wife was okay with it, what other one would you want to try out, experiment with?
It's it's a toss up between two of them. Um, I'm a huge fan of Balintawak. I just haven't
Mm,
had time. Um, I like to fight up close, and Balintawak guys are the only ones who make me really feel the pressure.
yeah.
Like most other guys, I'm like, all right, you just grab me and you just dry humping my leg. Like
Mm,
Balintawak guys are like, okay, and I'm like, oh, whoa, 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 I got to be on my toes
mm,
here. Um, and I have great respect for a lot of the Balintawak guys. There's a great group in New York led by Carlos and Claudette. They're great, awesome people. There's some overlap with some of the philosophies of the Serrata system. Um, but the other one I think I'd really like to explore would be DeRobio.
the
And
rodeo. Okay. Yeah.
the the
Yeah.
reason being, my understanding is it's like the yin to Serrata's yang.
No kidding. Well,
Yeah, that
We had GM Dan Medina on here. I mean, yeah, he presented well. It was, yeah.
yeah. There's a lot of great things that like I've read the book under Robio, and it's just like I'm not saying it's like the alternate Serrata, but there's like so many things that fall in the line. Like there's counters that I see them do for angle one that we do for angle two, and vice versa. And I'm just like, you know,
Oh, I got you. Yeah, that would
so
make sense. No, I was just, yeah, I always, once in a while, I'll
no,
ask this question just out of curiosity.
that's a great question.
So now you've kind of left, um, not left FMA, but
No.
you've ventured out into that criminal enterprise system, criminal element. Just kidding, folks. We don't embrace the criminal element. I want to make that very clear. Lloyd's sanction does not embrace the criminal element.
They do not.
However, we acknowledge where it came from. And that's about it on that.
Mhm.
So, Piper, what kind of what drew your interest to Piper?
I was taking some online classes with Crafty Dog, and he was showing some of the Piper stuff and talking about it. He wasn't really going into depth, but it was enough that it sparked my interest
Mm,
in seeing things like the triggering, the twirl, and then just the positions as a flow.
yeah.
That I just thought it was kind of like, I was like, oh, it's kind of cool. Just kind of like, it's like a, I guess it's a little funny to say now, but at the time I was like, oh, it's kind of like a mellow knife system. Then, well, because it was like the way it was presented to me. I'm
Oh, the way
triggered
he
up
was
here.
showing you. I
Oh,
get you. Okay.
look at me, I'm
Yeah.
flowing, and I'm like, oh, okay. Um, and then he showed a lot of the big frame outs and stuff, and I was like, all right, this
Mm,
seems interesting. And then I started doing more research on it, and like I said before, I was like, good God, I would never want to have to face that. And even with my
yeah.
Serrata, I felt like I would be able to match it if I had a stick versus the knife. Like I think I'd be
Mm,
able to handle Piper fairly well with that. But in just the constant flurry of attacks, I was mortified. And my father was a correction officer for Rikers Island. So I grew up hearing stories that,
I can't imagine.
yeah, you know, so that whole notion of prison shankings is like a reality to me. It's only like,
Mm,
one degree off. I've not been locked up and I don't plan on it, but like the
mm,
horror stories I would hear, and just seeing how it operated, was just like, that's something I need to understand. And, and in all honesty, tell me if I'm lying, Dean, when we first took it, you were like, do you want to certify in this? And I'm like, nah, I just really want to just train it. And it
mm.
just got to the point that I was just so much into it. You're like, hey man, you seem to be enjoying. Just go for the certification. I was like, okay.
It's same with me. Much what you expressed. I was so immersed in the interest because they were I just never seen anything like it. And then Burton, my teacher,
Hmm.
basically 2 weeks before me, before I jumped on, we were talking about it, and I watched a couple of vids like you just mentioned, and a lot of my stuff is done empty-handed against knife, and so I'm looking at that much to what you just said, and I'm like, wow, how? I mean, like non-linear distractions, fakes unknown to mankind, and I'm thinking like, how on earth would I get 2-on-1? And I'm like, I guess you know, it was just enough there to generate me to contact Lloyd
Mhm.
and that. But much like you just said, like wasn't even thinking about certification.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just want to see this, and one thing kind of led to another, and you know, but yeah.
Yeah.
So what now that you've been in it for a while, like what were your initial thoughts, and now have they changed present day?
Yeah, I would say, initially I just saw it as like a flurry of wild attacks that you didn't know where it was coming from.
Mm.
And, just seeing some of the distractions like in the Bronx. Ryan, get over here. We'll demonstrate what a Bronx fight looks like, right? Over here, right? Yo, son, yo, son, right? And seeing like that kind of like weird, like fake 52 block stuff, right?
Mm.
And seeing those like here in the distractions, I was like, all right, it's definitely got a street sensibility to it. But in studying it, seeing that and this speaks to me personally,
Mm.
that there is a design to the chaos that you create,
Yeah.
and it's like I'm creating this whirlwind and you don't know where it's going, but now I'm here and I'm
Mm.
here, right? Or now I'm here and boom, boom, that I really enjoyed. And it's, that unpredictability that I'm in control of, and that to
Yeah.
stay that loose and fluid and, always feel like you're falling, you know.
Yeah. The intentional off balancing, the sensory overload, it's just a
Mhm.
lot to contend with, assuming the person has a good grasp of what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, it's a lot to contend with. I mean, yeah. So what, and folks that are watching, Nick has gone far beyond just like taking the different levels of material and be able to obviously describe the tactics, the techniques, and then further demonstrate them. He's actually gone with the folks that you just saw him, his students there, and he actually tries stuff like full on, like the long range flick. Right now, he's currently working on being in a clinch, collar tie, or herding. And Nick has really pushed this envelope to see what resonates and works with him. And by doing such, he's actually kind of creating his flavor and what works for him and all that by virtue of him just getting his students and doing all that. So, with that, what do you think about what do you want to show the folks?
So quickly, without a student, I could just show some of my understandings regarding the positions of the footwork, like the stuff that you see me post the videos on and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I
Okay.
will lower myself.
Sure. So what I really liked about Piper was the stress for you to make it your own. The whole notion of the Lego blocks. I give you 15 Lego blocks, 5 different colors. What you come up with will be different from what I come up with, but it's all the same material. So in working with the major twirl and the minor twirl and moving around, one of the things, and I like that it meshed philosophically with my Serrata studies. If I do like an inside block in Serrata, I'm here, 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 here. I'm already navigating myself with level changes. So when I started moving with Piper, I'm already changing my levels. Now, additionally, as Dean brought up in the beginning, was I brought up, I should say, was my love for Muay Thai, and because there is that Western boxing element, if I'm moving around here, and all of a sudden now I switch, right, and I'm utilizing my boxing mechanics. I'll get to that in a second. I started really exploring the notion of bob and weave. So here I am in an angle, in a position 5, right? I do my bob, I'm in a 3B. Roll over to a 2. Come up, I'm in a 4. I could open back up. I go to my 4, my 2, roll over to a 3B. I'm up to my 5. So I like to incorporate the boxing, all right, the Muay Thai bob and weave in doing that. Additionally, utilizing it with the footwork. So I'm here, boom, to use myself to get angles around. So I was loving the fact that I was able to explore and acquire the skills utilizing my base knowledge. Additionally, in Serrata, this was taught to me by Jeff. It was, he calls it a street sweeper, and it's our angle 2 strike to an 11. Street sweeper is a nickname for a shotgun to clear the streets. What I liked with Piper was I was able to, here, I'm moving from a 4 to a 3. So I was able to overlap a lot of my stuff that I had in Serrata philosophically and understood, and then be like, oh, wow, let me put a Piper spin on this. And then even seeing some of the overlaps, like the hollowing out. I'm here, right? So from the side, and I'm hopping back in, to which I would see things in Serrata where if the 9 is coming in, right, 9 to my leg, and I'm here. You know, there was a lot of just very cool things like that really just fueled my study into this system.
Yeah, so I mean, just to kind of catapult and continue on what you were saying, it's a system that's made to let your past bleed through and all that. Long as it's not, that is not the focal point. In other words, like you mentioned, Thai boxing. So in other words, it's not Thai boxing with Piper. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
Okay, it's still Piper, but you're seeing that aspect of that maybe as passive Thai boxing coming. With me, obviously, it's a heavy FMA component and all that. But at the end, though, you're still seeing Piper. You know what I mean? And that's the key thing. You know, just making sure, like, if you got Tai Chi background, it's not Tai Chi Piper. If that makes sense. But yeah, well done. I mean, obviously.
Yeah. Now with my students, right? I've only recently started showing them some of the Piper stuff, but for the past couple of months, and I'm okay with this. They have more experience defending Piper than I do. So that when they actually learn Piper,
yeah,
they're learning it from the lens of what it takes to be on the receiving end.
Right.
You know, so I kind of put myself in a situation as an instructor, but whatever, I'll work my way out of it.
Yeah. I mean, you can always flip the script. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no. But I think it's going to be good that when they start acquiring more Piper, and then I kind of can explore and even look at what they did and suggest some of that, you know, and just kind of build off of it. Because if anything, I'm not looking to make robots with my students. They should be able to articulate the material as well as I am, you know, where if I'm not there, you should be able to explain how to do an umbrella block. You should be able to explain why we do the minor twirl. You should be able to explain why the footwork is the way it is. You don't just do it because I showed you to do it. You do it because we explained it, we talked about it, we discussed it, you processed it, and now it's yours.
Yeah. Well said. You know? Yeah. I mean, right. Like you're right. The last thing you want is a bunch of robots. I mean, you want them to find their, you know, what resonates with them and ultimately what distinguishes each other from one another, you know.
Rising tides raise all ships. And if my students get better, that forces me to get better. You know, working with other people, you know, I always tell them when you have a chance to spar with somebody, pick somebody outside of your league that's not going to abuse you, but who's going to make you rise to the occasion because it'll make you better. Anybody can pick the runt and just beat on them.
Yeah, you know? You're not going to get better, right? You know what I mean? It's certainly that's well said. So what
I encourage my guys to be non-compliant. If you like, I know Brian definitely wants to see some more Piper. I could show some of the drills that we've talked about and even just...
Yeah, I tell you what. Go ahead. I will lower. Go ahead.
All right. I'm going to need 2 guys suited up. All right. Quick. We're going to do one with the collar ties. And we'll do one with the straight on me attacking. All right. So what we'll do is some of the things that Dean gives me is called homework. And as a school teacher, you know, it's in my DNA to complete homework. All right. So one of the things we worked on was working on the hip grab to the collar tie, and me working on how to swarm them out. All right. Who's my first one up? Who's helping me? No knife, Byron. No knife. You're about to see why Dean says poor Byron. Okay. So one of the things we're working with here, no, we're going to work from this position. All right. Is in Piper, right? The whole notion is for me to get to here, to here, to here, to now I'm in this way close, right? So we're working from here, this position, okay? And when somebody says go, my job is to attack, his is to defend and get out. Okay? So whenever you're ready, say go, Ryan. Go. So I went from the hip grab to the collar tie, all right? So moving to the side grab, say go. Go. All right, and just quick little flurries. Then what my guys also get to do is they get to go empty hand against me in Piper. Nice body shot, Byron. In time. And then, this is where we go to uncharted waters. Little hot knife on knife action. Who's up for the knife? Let's get in here, brother. This is Ryan. He is pretty badass with the knife. I hate his timing with the overhand. Brother. Double death. Nice in time.
All right. Yeah. So, yeah, obviously,
Sorry.
things are looking better.
We go full. So, yeah.
Yeah. So what future? So what are your future goals? I mean, like, what do you now that it seems like we're starting to fully get out of COVID? I mean, which knock on wood, I hope, and that still continues. Like, what are your future goals for you, teaching, students, systems, all the above?
Continuing to represent Serrata. In 2022 November, I was asked to by Dr. Guru Brian Stoops of the Dog Brothers to teach at the New York City College Symposium. This is the second one. I was asked to do the first one, so he invited me back. So I'm excited for that.
Oh, excellent.
What else? The guys are chomping at the bit for me to start the Piper group.
You
in earnest.
should definitely be doing that. Start level 1, 100%.
So they're definitely pushing me on that with the Piper. I actually started a kids FMA program at my school through a community program.
No, you're telling me about that.
Listen, I got some real deadly girls. Like they're so coordinated and on point with it that I'm just like, please tell me they're gonna be around for a few more years. And just continue honing my craft. You know, I'm looking to fight, you know, in some of the opens with the Dog Brothers and stuff like that. I'm looking to pursue, you know, just being a better instructor and student of Serrata. Actually, I should say it the other way. I'm being a better student so I could be a better instructor of Serrata. Continue to just, meet and train, with the guys in my system and keep an open mind and just share it, man. That's really it. And, if anybody, that I could come across, show me some DeRobio, Maestro Alvin. Okay. I do come out to California. I would like to look at that, man, and just continue to just build my knowledge, man, and just share the love and keep training, meeting guys like you. That was just huge, man. So
sounds like you're doing it and you will continue to do it. You should definitely start teaching Piper. I mean, that's, you have a great grasp of, you should definitely be doing that.
And they all just heard you. They're all going to be like, Maestro Dean's.
Yeah, you should. Yeah.
All right, Ryan.
Yeah, you should definitely be 100% be doing that. That goes without saying.
Yeah,
so,
that's.
Lloyd,
I've been showing them little things here and there, and just kind of building up their understanding of it. But it's going to start more in earnest as time's going on. To where I'm actually going to carve it out into the class 100%. All right, so you heard me. It's in the works. Stop rushing me.
That. I'm actually going to do another online seminar, and it'd be neat if you could do it with me and help me.
Definitely, man.
Yeah. I just got to find the time.
Let me know when it is.
I'd like to. What's that?
About Piper, as I've shown you the video, I didn't post this yet. It is great for corralling puppies. I have a new dog, and my dog was like not wanting to go where it was. And she started barking, and she's trying to juke me, and I was like, "Oh no!" I started doing Piper, and then you saw the video. My dog was just like,
"I did."
You were actually,
the poor thing was forced into direction.
Yeah, herding took place.
Yeah, man. Wow. Well, this has been absolutely wonderful. I'm so glad you came on, and for Cabales and your demos with your students. I mean, that was fantastic, especially the sparring ones you did. Let's get the group up here again.
Let's go, guys. And listen, man, I want to just quickly, I have to do this in New York style. I got to give my shout out real quick, man. I got to give it up to Master Jeff, who has been so instrumental in helping me out.
He's coming on next month.
I can't wait. I may bomb that episode and come in there. Grandmaster Vincent for being an awesome just supporter. Carlito, Ron, those guys helping me out. Grandmaster Vincent's group, particularly Henry, Mahipal, who my big brother, I love him to death. He's always checking in on me, not just style-wise, but also personally and stuff like that. Dean, I'm thankful to you for just being supportive. All the guys in the FMA community that contact me, awesome. Sensei Sonny Mayo, Grandmaster Percival Pableo. Again, this is my lineage of fighters, which is why I'm not a paper chaser, and I'm not knocking people who are. But I've always been, when we talked about this, being that guy who wants to test the system and put it out there. Again, Jeff, fighter. Sonny Mayo, fighter. Percival Pableo, fighter. Dog Brothers, need not say more. You know what I mean? So these are the guys that I've trained and who have trained with and who have mentored me. And I can't say enough of them. And Dean, just you having the patience dealing with, this handsome face and talented lyrical skills. But I appreciate that. Guys, come on in. And I'm really appreciative of my students who give me that love and trust. And I mean,
oh my gosh,
wholeheartedly, just bringing it, guys. You up in the forefront, man. Give it up for my guys if you're at home, man, because
for the demos.
Not swinging softly, all right? We were.
Absolutely. I want to thank all of you for helping out Nick. Thank you so much, you guys, I know the names because when Nick sends me videos, okay, Jin, and then I'll see Ryan, and then, and then poor Byron usually who comes out.
But Byron, he's just one of those guys who's like, I need somebody to go. And he's like, I'll go. He just loves to scrap.
No.
November, man.
Yeah. Definitely.
No, man, I got a great crew, and as an instructor, I couldn't.
I would
ask.
say, I would say you definitely got a great crew there, and So again, I want to thank all of you for coming on. You guys made the show, the demos and what have you. So I really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And Nick will obviously be in touch. And so I'll download this, and I'll definitely, I'll post a link everywhere as far as the YouTube goes.
Yeah.
And
and Dina's, this was my homework. I didn't get to do video this week. I apologize.
no, oh my God, enough. There was enough there. Perfect.
No, and again, if anybody needs to contact me, I'm on Facebook, Cabales, Serrata, Screaming New York. I'm a little more active with my Instagram page, which is again Cabales, Serrata, Screaming New York. You see me and Dean interact or something like that. There's a lot more videos there just because it's quicker and easier and stuff like that. I'm always open to suggestions. I'm always open to constructive criticism, not just somebody coming out of the cracks and annals of my system to tell me I'm doing it wrong just because whatever, but I'm always open for that, man. And I'm thankful for the FMA community, man, the work that you guys have done here with FMA discussion, man. I mean, it's awesome, man. So we appreciate it. Guys, salute.
Thank you. All right. Well, you guys, you take care, and thank you so much again.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. I'll speak to you during the week. Everybody, thank you for tuning in.
Sounds good. All right, guys. All right. That wraps up doubleheader today. So who's next? Tomorrow, 5 o'clock, Spencer G. So this is the Matt Marina system. Okay, so some flexible weapons, really kind of different, and we haven't covered it yet. So this could be very interesting. And you guys can check that out. Again, that's going to be 5 o'clock tomorrow. Let me just double check that. Make sure I'm not giving the wrong time here. Yes, I got to double check that. But yeah, it's good. I'm almost positive. 5. The flyer. I'm going to be having the flyer out like really shortly, so you guys will see it. And again, if you guys raffle Ukrainian refugees right on Facebook, we got it pinned. You can see all the prizes there. It's going on to May 15th, 6 p.m. is the end time. $10 a ticket, and you'll be helping the Ukrainian refugees. And if you haven't already, please hit like, subscribe to FMA Discussion, where all the monies received from the channel go to charity. All right, folks, thank you much, and we'll see you next time.